Hey everybody, time for Control, episode 33, and we're going to talk about stairs. Last episode I said, let's talk about stairs, and then I got distracted and never talked about them, so let's talk about them. I like this staircase quite a bit. When you're designing stairs, you've got to have a real sense of elegance because they can't be loud. They can't be the most important thing in the room. Unless for some reason you want them to be, but you almost never do. So you've got to have a real sense of subdued elegance in order to create good stairs. You could just reuse the same stairs everywhere you go, but that's a huge missed opportunity for creating a sense of place. So I just wanted to show you this really elegant design. It's made out of simple concrete slabs. There's no carving involved here. And they just put them together in this descending staircase that slowly gets wider and wider and wider. Very, very basic. There are a few things I want to draw your attention to. The first is the double staggered out. You can see how it goes out, 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 and then straight, and then out, out, out. I really like that. I have a feeling that it might have been accidental when they first did it, but it really works well to create a punchy sense of progression. I like this overhang. The overhang, first off, means that they don't have to create any weird shapes for this corner. They can just do a square corner for their little sitting area. But it also means that as we're approaching the stairs from the side, we can clearly see the staircase. See that? It's framing the staircase quite wonderfully. I really like how that worked out. But by far the most interesting thing about these stairs to me is the lighting. If there was no lighting here, it would feel very repetitive because it would just be the same stair 30 times or however many times it is, because it's the same on the other side as well. But by adding light highlights to a couple of stairs near the bottom, they really freshen the staircase up and remind us that it exists. I think it is a phenomenal way to set this up. They were very careful about which stairs to light from what angle. The staircase elements that are lit are all below head level, and they are all lit on the top rather than on the front surface. That means that they're going to be visible from up here and also down here. But they're never going to be so visible that they become the most important thing in the room. They're just visible enough to tell you that there is certainly a staircase down. I really like that. I think it works really, really well. There are a lot of other options. For example, if they had lit the front, the vertical side of these stairs, then these stairs would be the dominant thing we see when we're coming in from this angle. Now, the truth is we never come in from this angle. It's just not something that happens because this angle is closed when we first come in. But if those stairs had been the most important thing from this angle, then we wouldn't have seen this giant Federal Bureau Control Security Center kind of thing. That wouldn't have popped as much. Also, if they were on the front, we wouldn't be able to see them from above. So understanding what kind of lighting to use, I don't know how much of that was instinctual, how much of that was inherited by studying other staircases in the real world, and how much of that was like repeated tries until they got something that was right. Because if it was the 3 stairs up there, it would look like crap. If it was on the front, it would look like crap in this particular case. The other thing to note is that these lights are literally just lights. There's no recess here. There's no like indent where the light is set. It's just a light that's bright enough that you can't see the fact that it is coming out of nothing. And the way they do that is they have 6 lights, 2 on each stair. They've got one that's pointed at this corner and one that's pointed in the other direction to create the splash properly. You can actually see that if I kind of wedge myself in here and try and get a nice little flash. You can see how the light's coming out, but it's also going in. See that? So it's real bright from this angle, but it's also coming from this side. And maybe that's just a lighting error in their engine. Maybe it is only 1 light per stair, but I would think that it would be easier to do with 2. Anyway, I wanted to talk about those lights because I forgot to, and I really liked them. Let's go over into the Panopticon now, and we'll talk about the Panopticon's first room. I spent 5 minutes on stairs. Whew. Fire break, fire break. Here we are. So this is the Panopticon central shaft, and there's a lot to talk about in here. This shaft is actually connected to several places we've already been, although not directly. We could see out into this shaft from the clocks, for example, and from the Blackrock Quarry. This is a major shaft. And you can see that there's like other floors that we can't reach yet. It's just huge. They don't really do any significant trickery in terms of trying to fool the eye with this shaft. They just make it huge. There are several layered bridges, which is always a great way to create that vertical layering effect that will really sell how tall things are. It also looks like these bridges can rotate, like maybe they can spin. Wouldn't that be a treat? The bridge we're on leads straight across here. And I wanted to talk about bridges in general, because bridges have one really neat characteristic. They have undersides. Not all bridges, obviously, but many do. I'm not sure why this bridge has an underside. I don't believe anything ever happens down here, and it doesn't go anywhere, but it is a really fun visual. Some of the things they've done with this is they've created this diagonal walkway, which I think is really nice, and it must have had like a custom, there must be a custom mesh there. I don't see a lot of Z fighting or anything. I think it looks great, and it's not something I often see on bridge undersides. Usually bridge undersides aren't very fancy, but this one looks great, and I just thought I'd bring it up because I love the undersides of bridges. They're always a great place to put stuff. I'm a little bit sad that nothing ever happens down there, that I can remember anyway. Certainly all the fighting happened up top here. Bridges are also something that usually have some structural elements in, near the middle like this, and they've kind of doubled down on that and put another bridge on top of our bridge and another bridge on top of that bridge all the way up to the sky there. That was a fun choice. This is the sort of thing that you might normally find holding like a wire that connects to the bridge over here to keep it from falling or whatever. Like Golden Gate Bridge style supports. But instead it's literally just supporting another bridge. It's very cute. Obviously the bridge needs decorations, so they've decorated it. They have a couple of unusual floor tiles here. You can see how they just placed floor tiles. When it comes to decoration, you can often find, I want to put in a crate, I want to put in a forklift, I want to put in a generator, whatever, right? But don't forget that you can just put in more floor, and that can really help. It can really help to sell the experience, especially if your floor is dented and battered or covered in blood or whatever else needs to be done. Just thought I'd mention that as we cruise across into this area. So over here we have a blocked off region that we can't get through, and this whole area is a giant set of rings stacked on top of each other, very similar to the reactor room, but the ring edge out here is much less accessible. It's much more claustrophobic and hard to see what's going on. We've got these half-open grates, all of which seem to have things that are resembling the hypercube shadow but aren't. If I had to make my guess, I would guess that these patterns predate the hypercube shadow that we actually got in the game, and they were just left in there because there was no reason to replace them. But this is not the proper hypercube shadow that we've used before. It's all screwed up. That said, this entire hallway is just the same repeated element over and over and over with light on the outside. It's quite difficult to see what's going on, but each of these rooms contains one of the magic items in this universe. One nice thing about this conceit is that your magic items can be just random assets that you happen to use elsewhere, like a mailbox or a vase or a fan, whatever, right? And it doesn't take much power to model those. You don't need an afternoon of modeling to put a fan in here when you've already modeled your fans. Nice and cheap. The repetition here is to show the mundanity of the situation, how uninteresting it is, but at the same time they need to look grand and oppressive. It works pretty well in my opinion.
Something went wrong with the Bureau's plan to make Dylan the next director.
Gosh, I think.
Marshall made it sound like it was all Dylan's fault, but how much of it was what the Bureau did to him?
I'm gonna guess it was because he had the hiss in his head. I actually can't remember whether he's always had the hiss in his head or whether that's a new thing. It's pretty academic. Oh, did I miss something? I did. There's a fight. We're gonna have to do some fighting. I can't even draw my gun here, though. They just want me to be prepared. Interesting choice on their part. Hello. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I was looking down at the timer. Got myself confused. Okay, so we actually are seeing just how sturdy these walls are. Even though we know there are enemies in the main chamber, we don't know when they'll be able to reach us because all of the containment shutters are closed. Meaning that there's no way from this hallway out into the main chamber. Not yet. So this one is a valid shape. That one's valid. I think it is anyway. It might be like recombinatorially invalid, but its shape is valid. That one isn't valid. I wonder what's going on with those. Anyway, more of the same, except for this room's empty. Just repeating this process over and over.
Is anyone there?
Here's Philip.
What are you doing in there?
Oh, thank God. Look, someone has to watch this object at all times, or it deviates. My shift replacement never showed up. Can you help me?
Damn. I can't, I'm sorry. There's an emergency. I'll come back, I promise.
Okay, just don't forget. I can't stare at this thing much longer.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think you can save him. I've never heard of anyone managing to save him. So we're gonna just let him bake there for a while. But it is nice to see another human and some kind of sign that there is something going on here. We're searching for our brother's cell. It's around here somewhere. I spent 5 minutes talking about stairs, so I'm going to push on just a little bit further before calling it an episode. I can hear that lady shouting, so maybe we'll get some fighting in. Oh, I missed. Oh, well, nobody died. We're back out here in the bridge room, like we were before, and you can see that that's the bridge we were on, way down there. See the one with the broken flooring? We're actually going in the same direction on the 4th floor as we did on the 1st floor, which was an interesting choice. I wondered if there was some kind of design constraint that made the two of them have to be in the same direction. And you can see the underside of this bridge is functionally identical. Obviously a piece here and there is different. I guess we have to go upstairs and help them fight off more bad guys. I think I might have triggered them by walking around underneath. I think that I was supposed to be here when I triggered them so that they wouldn't kill off the guards. But, alas. So, one of the things I really like about the idea of this stuff, bridges and such, there's a lot of mechanical things you can do. Like, for example, you can have these kind of half-hearted winches. And the idea here is obviously that you would be able to lower cabling down and drag things up or lower things down into the lower floors. In this case, it looks like it was left half completed, the asset, because that's not how spools should look. There should actually be, at some point, a wire coming off of them. And if you don't want to model a wire coming off of them, you should have the wire just kind of going back and then stopping here so that we can see that they're not just a crappy repeated mesh that doesn't actually accomplish anything. And then, of course, normally what you'd do is you'd run a wire from the spool over to there, but for some reason they chose not to do that. I'm not sure why. I'm not going to say It almost certainly wasn't like, oh, lazy devs or whatever. It's just certainly, they probably just forgot. They were moving fast and it didn't occur to them. Alright, well, I like how this part looks, but you know, it seems to me like it would be good to stop. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little tour of the round part of this sector. Oh, wasn't that a big, expensive tour? I'm sure you all feel very fulfilled, and we'll go through there in the next episode. In this case, there are a bunch of things here that I really do like. Here you can see them in action. This is what they're supposed to have attached, a bridge, and you can see that that's exactly what I was talking about. There's a wire running out and then down. That works really, really well. It's very convincing. This one doesn't have a bridge. It doesn't have like a thing that you can attach to it. But that doesn't mean the wire magically just coils up like that. It's not how wire works. Either way, we're going to call that a day, and I'll see you in the next episode.